Hello friends and welcome to the Southern Mountain Kitchen. Today we're going to make beef and broccoli over white rice. So what you see on my counter is what we're going to use to make this, and I have to say by the time I was done with this recipe I thought this was as good as something I would have gotten from a restaurant, or maybe even better, because it had such a great flavor and it's coming from so few of ingredients here. We have about a pound of beef, we have some broccoli, some brown sugar, some cornstarch, we've got some beef broth, some seasoning, and a little soy sauce, and we put it all together and it's going to turn into something really amazing. And I think you're really going to like this one if you like beef and broccoli. So we're going to start off with our rice. So I'm going to have about a half a cup of uncooked rice, about a fourth of a teaspoon of salt, and a cup of water going in, and then I'm going to put this on and boil it per directions, per whatever box, bag, or whatever it came out of, because usually you have to cook this, till it goes to a boil, then turn it down and cook it for at least 15 or more minutes. So just follow the directions on the package, and then we're going to move on to cutting up our beef. Now, you can use any kind of beef you want. They do have some that are labeled stir fry when you buy them at the store, or you can just look to see what's on sale and see if it's something that you can use to cut up to make this, because you just need thin strips of beef. And really, it's not that hard to find something that'll work for this that could possibly be on sale or cheap. So just work your way through this. If you get a bunch of fat, cut it out as you're going along and set it to the side, because we really don't want that ending up in here. But as you cut, it'll be easy for you to actually get the fat out of this and just work your way through. And we're going to cut up this whole thing, and in the end there's a little over a pound here, so that's perfect for this recipe. Now if you were trying to feed multiple people, because what I'm fixing here is going to feed a couple, you could just double this recipe if you wanted to. So just go ahead and work your way through until you get all of the beef cut up. And then once we get this done, we're going to move it to a bowl so we can add other ingredients to it, because we're going to add other things like soy sauce and all this other thing to it to actually get it into the beef. And we're going to let it sit for a few seconds to kind of like do a little bit of a marinade on it and just basically get it to some flavor level before we cook it. So once you get everything cut and get the fat out, move it to your bowl, and then we'll start adding other things to this. Now as you can see, there is a lot of beef here just for what I was using. So we're going to start off by adding a fourth of a cup of soy sauce to this. And then once we get that in, we're going to add a tablespoon of cornstarch. Now when I'm taking my cornstarch out of my little bowl here, I'm still saving some of this for later, because I'm going to need another tablespoon later on at the end of this. So I'm just going to divvy it up. And you can eyeball this, it's easy enough to do. And then after this, we're adding a half a teaspoon of salt, a half a teaspoon of pepper, and a half a teaspoon of ginger. Make sure all of that goes in. And then I'm going to add a fourth of a cup of brown sugar to this. And the brown sugar and the ginger and all are going to work to really flavor this. So that's why we really need those in there. Now once they're in, we're going to mix this up. And we're going to make sure we get through all of it to where it's mixed completely through. All of the brown sugar, ginger, all these other things are all mixed through it, and it's a good even thing that's distributed through the soy sauce. And then we're going to let this sit for a good half an hour before we use it, because we really want it to set up and get that flavor into the beef. And in the meantime, once we're getting ready to go to the next step of this, your rice is already cooked at this point, probably, or cooking. And then we want to get a skillet together, because we are going to actually put this in a skillet on medium to high heat to cook it. So once your pan is getting kind of warm, just go ahead and transfer that beef into it. Now mind you, this is after it's set for about like 30 minutes. And then we're going to heat this up and cook it for at least 2 to 3 minutes per side of the beef, because when you get it in here like this, you can just move it around until you see it cooking, because you're going to know that when the redness disappears from the beef that it's cooked. But we're just going to go ahead and move it around. Now when it's in the pan like this, it's going to look really dark because you have the soy sauce on it, and it's just going to make it look darker than it needs to look, but that's just what it is while it's cooking. And we're just going to move this around like I said, and we're going to definitely make this cook for, I would say a total time of 5 to 6 minutes till it's totally cooked through, because these are not thick pieces of beef, they're going to cook quicker. And then once we get it to a point where we've gotten all of it cooked and we're ready to go to the next stage, that's where we're going to bring in our beef broth. And you're going to need at least a half a cup when we bring this into it, because that's actually going to go in here and mix with what we have in our skillet already. As you can see, I'm adding mine, and it's going to help to bring all this together, because as you cooked it, the soy sauce and everything kind of thickened up a little bit, and the beef broth is going to mix through this to actually just add to and bring it all together as one. So go ahead and stir this around. We're going to cook this for at least, with the beef broth in it, 2 to 3 minutes, and get it up to temperature to where it's back to almost a boil again. So keep moving this around, keep mixing it through as you're doing it, and just let that temperature come up in your pan. And it won't take long for this to happen, because as it keeps coming up in here, you know, you're going to need to stir this and mix everything through, because as you can see, the more you stir it, the more everything that was already in that skillet is mixing in and working with the beef broth. And you can put a lid over this if you want to raise the temperature up till you get to that boil. And then when we're ready for this, go ahead and bring your lid off and wait for the steam to go away, and it will. And then you'll notice that you have a really good mix going on in here, and we're about ready to add in the rest of that cornstarch. So we're going to take 1/4 of a cup of water, add in at least that tablespoon or so of cornstarch we had left, and mix it up. Get it really mixed before we pour it in, because we really want to make this really smooth when it goes into it. And then once it's mixed, we're going to pour this into our skillet and mix it through what's in there. And this is going to help thicken the sauce to a point to where it's not all runny, it's just thick enough to where it's like a really good sauce over top of the beef. So once that's in, go ahead and start stirring it up again and mix this through until that whitishness disappears, because everything's going to go into this and turn into kind of like a lightish brown color by the time you're done. And just keep mixing, and we're going to keep this going over the heat as we're doing this. And coming up, we're going to add our broccoli to this. So once this is completely mixed through and we notice that it's actually thickening and it looks really good at this point, we're going to prepare to do the broccoli. Now, you have an option when you put in broccoli as to how much you want. If you really like the broccoli, you could put like 2 to 3 cups in here if you want to. I'm putting in almost 2 cups of this, like 1.5 cups to 2 cups. And once it's in there, we just want to get this in. Now, mind you, this is frozen broccoli. And once you put it in, it's got to cook a little bit. So we're going to actually let this cook for about 5 to 6 minutes until the broccoli is heated up and cooked itself. And that's going to give time for everything to blend together, and it's just going to work to cook this whole thing at once. And once you get to the point where you've gotten to like 5 or 6 minutes, now mind you, turn the heat down a little bit once you put that broccoli in. And then we're going to serve this over our white rice, which you can see is still steamy because we left it with the lid on in the pot until we were ready. That's the best thing about it, it stays hot. We'll get that on our plate, and then we're going to actually end up spooning over top what we just made, because all of our broccoli and everything is cooked, the beef is cooked, and the sauce is there. So we're ready to do this. So just go ahead and, as you're doing this, spoon it on a little bit at a time and just bring it over, and make sure that you bring some of the sauce with, so that way it goes into the rice and gives you this really great mix of stuff going on here. Because I gotta tell you, the flavor in this is so good because of everything that went into it, especially between, like, you know, the brown sugar and like the soy sauce and everything is working with the flavors and the seasonings and all we put in it. And when you're done, you have this amazing meal with amazing flavor, and this is so inexpensive to make. I hope you liked this video, and if you did, please like and subscribe. And if you get a chance, check out the Southern Mountain Kitchen website, where you can get a free recipe, check out the cookbooks available from the Southern Mountain Kitchen, and if you'd like to, you could order a cookbook at a discounted price, cheaper than Amazon, with shipping that is also cheaper than Amazon. So if you get a chance, check it out, and I hope you have a great day.